Most people go off grid without a plan. But if you had a simple plan in place, you could save yourself thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours in labor. And today we're going to dive into the basics of making a plan and get into the nitty-gritty of creating a base map for your site. Aloha everybody, Sean again here with Homestead in Hawaii, where I share my mana'o to help you grow. And today I want to share with you how we create a base map so that we can begin to create a food forest that is well thought out, has smart design, and minimizes our labor and the costs involved for creating it. Behind me, I stand in front of a house that I built 2 years ago for my mom, single-handedly by hand. It's totally off-grid, has her own water catchment and solar. She drinks the water from her catchment, and now pretty soon she will eat food from her own tropical food forest. Behind me, you can see it's pretty much a blank slate. We are starting to spread out some mulching material and get some beds created. But before we show you what we're doing out here on the site, I want to show you what we did first inside in the design room. Now, for those of you with larger property, you can get aerial satellite photos now on Google Maps. You can get a LiDAR survey from certain landscape companies to take an aerial survey of your property, or you could just go ahead and get a drone and get some aerial photography from there. And maybe perhaps even in the county offices they have a plan or lot lines or whatnot of your property already in place, and that could save you so much time and work. Regardless of whether or not you have a large property or a small property, you're gonna want to take measurements. Now, a lot of these measurements are gonna have to take place out on the field. I like to measure my perimeter line, my driveways, the size of the house or any existing dwellings. I like to measure those all out by pacing by foot. Now, sometimes you have something a little more difficult to measure. If you're measuring off a tree in the middle of nowhere, but you already know where the corner of your house is and perhaps a property line, you can use those two measurements to be able to triangulate exactly where the tree is on your property. Check out this book here, this resource on how they're telling you to get bearings of the pond. You are taking fixed elements, the tree, the corner of a house on both sides, another tree, and you're getting 3 measurements from each point. 3 is the magic number here, guys. And you can see this tree is getting a measurement of the outside part of the pond here, and the outside part here, and this part here. This tree is getting a measurement of the outside part over here, and over here, and so on. And this book is a really great resource if you don't have it yet. Permaculture Design by Aranya. This is a really awesome resource for anyone out there who is looking to use permaculture to design their property. It goes through the whole process of making maps, taking measurements, zone and sector analysis, and then beginning to actually design and place trees that you want to have in your food forest. So I encourage you to check out this book if you have a site that is a little more difficult than my site. All right, we've taken our measurements and now we're in the design studio ready to get it all down onto paper. So we're gonna have a few simple tools to do the job. You don't need much. This is just for the homeowner. We're not trying to do anything professional here today, but we're trying to make it so that we have the tools that we need that anyone has at home so that they can create a base map of their own. So we got some pencils, we got some rulers, and we got some shapes. And these are things that people have all around the house. And we also have some paper. You could have plain paper, grid paper. Grid paper is a little easier for most people to work with during this stage. I'm just going to use plain paper and show you what I do when I don't have grid paper. So when we were out taking measurements in the landscape, we first came up with the total perimeter of the property. And so that's what we're going to put on the base map first. So go ahead and get your ruler. We're going to use centimeters for our site. And our site is 280 feet long by 180 feet wide. So that's 18 centimeters. And so now we have our perimeter And we're going to identify fixed areas, like here's the main road out here, and here's just a neighbor on this side, a neighbor on this side, and a neighbor on this side. This is a 1/4 acre lot here in Hawaii. Rectangle, flat, as plain as can be. Now some of you may have more curves or angled lines or whatnot. Just make sure that you take as many measurements as you can so you could get as close as possible. Remember to triangulate. So now that we have sort of our fixed elements in place, we're also going to identify where north is, what direction north is. So for us on this property, north is heading in this direction. And so that's just a marker that we can have to help guide us if we need it. But pretty much what we're doing is we're establishing fixed objects that are on the ground now. So when we got started at my mom's property, we lightly cleared it and kept all the ohia trees that were on site. And so we cleared a driveway, and then the rest of the area was pretty much open with a few ohia trees scattered in. So we're gonna first plot down our driveway area and existing plants. And that will be what was first on the property before anything else showed up. Okay, so according to the measurements we just took, our driveway was about 60 feet from the corner of the property, so that's 6 centimeters, and it was about 15 feet wide, okay? The driveway went into the property about 40 feet. So everything on this side of the property to the road is native forest. So we can go ahead and just mark that off right now. And see, I'm not using a ruler for everything. There's no need to get overly anal with straight lines. This is a base map for your use. This is so that you can be efficient with your installation of whatever it is that you put on your property. Your house, your food forest, whatever it is, the best thing for you to do is to create this base map first. So now we have our driveway, we have our native forest, and then we have some trees scattered about here and there. So I'm going to take my round tool and let's see which size we have here. So the glue stick here is about 20 feet in diameter, and this battery is about 10 feet. Now what we have on the property are a bunch of ohia trees, and ohia trees do not get very big. So we're going to use the battery for our measurement. The first tree that we have on site when we enter was about 30 feet from the edge of the native forest. And it was also about 90 feet from the edge of the property here. See why we take 2 measurements so we can get a more exact pinpoint? 3 measurements is even better if you can. Okay, so that's 1 ohia tree here. On this side of the property we have an ohia tree about 50 feet from the corner and 10 feet from the side. So I'm going to do it roughly about right here. We also have another tree which is about 70 feet from the edge of the property, and it was about 80 feet from the other side here. So got that point right there, pretty good. And then back here we had one more. It was about 15 feet from this side and another 15 feet from this side, which is where we're at. Okay, besides the native forest, these were our remaining native ohia trees that were left on site after the guy came in and did his clearing. So the initial part of that base map was pretty simple. Let's go ahead and put down more fixed elements. Do you have a house already on your property, or a shed, a water tank, a road? Let's get them all down onto the paper now. So let's plot down those fixed elements. We got a house. So the house is about 20 feet from the fence line, and the house is about 50 feet from the foresty edge where I'm at there. The house is about 50 feet wide and it's about 80 feet long. I built this house for my mom. It wasn't tiny. She really wanted to have space for guests, space for herself and her dogs. She didn't want to rough it too much in her retirement years, and who could blame her, huh? Alright, so let's put down the perimeters of our house here. And so here in between this tree and the forest, we had a carport made up, which was about 25 feet wide. It went right up to the edge of the forest here almost, and about 12 feet deep. So this is where the cars park. And then we have a water tank that is right here. It's about 10 feet from the property line and 15 feet from the forest. That's where we're at. Yeah, the water tank is a little bit larger of a footprint than the ohia tree. It's a big water tank. It's probably a little bit smaller. This glue stick is not quite the right size, so let's just make it a little bit smaller. Go ahead and feel free to erase your mistakes. That's why we're using a pencil, because we all are gonna make mistakes once in a while. Okay, anything else that's fixed on this site? We have our carport. We have our house with our solar panels right here on this side. We actually have a small fence that exists right here. So we can, why not install that? Because we have a way off of our patio here. And there's a porch. This house is surrounded by a lanai, like that. So that's where the main footprint is coming in. So right here we have stairs going out into a yard, which is fenced off like that. This is a dog yard where the dog can go out and play without getting involved too much out here with anything. We don't want to include anything that you hope to have on site right now. Currently, right now, for the base map is what you have on site right now. So if this is all that you have, then you're done. The next step is just to clean up that base map and make it look pretty, so that future layers can go over that base map and we could design out our food forest from there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some pencils, colored pencils, we're gonna take some markers or pens, whatever you wanna use, and we're gonna embellish this base map. Next, we're going to do a video on zone and sector analysis, and that'll be an overlay that goes over this base map. And then we'll have future overlays that include water systems, that then include food systems, and what other systems that you want to design in your property. Each one can be an overlay to this base map. So if you haven't already, design your base map right now, get it down on a paper, and stay tuned for next week when we're going to go over zone and sector analysis. So thanks for joining me, everybody. Till next time, ahui ho, I'll see you later.